Welcome back to another in our series of the great chapters in the Bible. Our chapter today comes from the Old Testament prophet Daniel. Daniel chapter 3, the fiery furnace. King Nebuchadnezzar made an image of gold, whose height was 60 cubits and its breadth 6 cubits. He set it up on the plain of Dura in the province of Babylon. Then King Nebuchadnezzar sent together the satraps, the prefects, and the governors, the counselors, the treasurers, the justices, the magistrates, and all the officials of the provinces to come to the dedication of the image that King Nebuchadnezzar had set up. Then the satraps, the prefects, and the governors, the counselors, the treasurers, the justices, the magistrates, and all the officials of the provinces gathered for the dedication of the image that King Nebuchadnezzar had set up. And they stood before the image that Nebuchadnezzar had set up. And the herald proclaimed aloud, "You are commanded, O peoples, nations, and languages, that when you hear the sound of the horn, pipe, lyre, trigon, harp, bagpipe, and every kind of music, you are to fall down and worship the golden image that King Nebuchadnezzar has set up. And whoever does not fall down and worship shall immediately be cast into a burning fiery furnace." Therefore, as soon as all the peoples heard the sound of the horn, pipe, lyre, trigon, harp, bagpipe, and every kind of music, all the peoples, nations, and languages fell down and worshipped the golden image that King Nebuchadnezzar had set up. Therefore, at that time, certain Chaldeans came forward and maliciously accused the Jews. They declared to King Nebuchadnezzar, "O king, live forever. You, O king, have made a decree that every man who hears the sound of the horn, pipe, lyre, trigon, harp, bagpipe, and every kind of music shall fall down and worship the golden image. And whoever does not fall down and worship shall be cast into a burning, fiery furnace. There are certain Jews whom you have appointed over the affairs of the province of Babylon, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. These men, O king, pay no attention to you. They do not serve your gods or worship the golden image that you have set up." Then Nebuchadnezzar, in furious rage, commanded that Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego be brought. So they brought these men before the king. Nebuchadnezzar answered and said to them, "Is it true, O Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, that you do not serve my gods or worship the golden image that I have set up? Now, if you are ready when you hear the sound of the horn, pipe, lyre, trigon, harp, bagpipe, and every kind of music to fall down and worship the image that I have made, well and good. But if you do not worship, you shall immediately be cast into the burning fiery furnace. And who is the God who will deliver you out of my hands?" Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego answered and said to the king, "O Nebuchadnezzar, we have no need to answer you in this matter. If this be so, our God whom we serve is able to deliver us from the burning fiery furnace, and he will deliver us out of your hand, O king. But if not, be it known to you, O king, that we will not serve your gods or worship the golden image that you have set up." Then Nebuchadnezzar was filled with fury, and the expression of his face was changed against Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. He ordered the furnace heated 7 times more than it was usually heated. And he ordered some of the mighty men of his army to bind Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, and to cast them into the burning fiery furnace. Then these men were bound in their cloaks, their tunics, their hats, and their other garments, and they were thrown into the burning fiery furnace. Because the king's order was urgent and the furnace overheated, the flame of the fire killed those men who took up Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. And these 3 men, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, fell bound into the burning fiery furnace. Then King Nebuchadnezzar was astonished and rose up in haste. He declared to his counselors, "Did we not cast 3 men bound into the fire?" They answered and said to the king, "True, O king." He answered and said, "But I see 4 men unbound, walking in the midst of the fire, and they are not hurt, and the appearance of the 4th is like a son of the gods." Then Nebuchadnezzar came near to the door of the burning fiery furnace. He declared, "Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, servants of the Most High God, come out and come here." Then Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego came out from the fire. And the satraps, the prefects, the governors, and the king's counselors gathered together and saw that the fire had not had any power over the bodies of those men. The hair of their heads was not singed, their cloaks were not harmed, and no smell of fire had come upon them. Nebuchadnezzar answered and said, Blessed be the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, who has sent his angel and delivered his servants who trusted in him, and set aside the king's command and yielded up their bodies rather than serve and worship any god except their own God. Therefore I make a decree. Any people, nation, or language that speaks anything against the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego shall be torn limb from limb, and their houses laid in ruins. For there is no other God who is able to rescue in this way. Then the king promoted Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego in the province of Babylon. There is nothing so easily forgotten as yesterday's headlines. That is a quote that readily admits the tenets of human nature. A way of saying that we're prone to forget even the most monumental of achievements in recent history. Who won the most coveted of trophies in the past year? The Super Bowl of football, the World Series of baseball, college and NBA championships, the gold medals of the Olympics that have only recently ended. Time marches on, and quickly at that. Who has time to note the achievements rendered? There's not a time stamp on this most vaunted of Old Testament chapters. How long had it been after these three men had joined with Daniel to follow the dietary restrictions of chapter 1? How much time had elapsed from Nebuchadnezzar's dream of the great image? Perhaps months, maybe years. However much time has passed, it is clear that it has no bearing on the obedience demanded by this ruling king. In fact, much is wanting in this narrative as it pertains to those things we would desire to know. How many people were there? What was the nature of this image? Was it in human form, or was it in the image of the gods they worshipped? The furnace, the instruments of music, the location of this plain in Dura, and more. All legitimate questions in their own right. Yet, the focus of the account at hand is not to enhance a historical narrative as much as it is to provide us with the enduring providence of God as He had promised long before. How many Bible classes for children has the bravery of these three men been proclaimed? Can't you just see the children bringing their artwork to their parents? Pictures of a fiery furnace and 4 figures walking in the fire. Pictures of an angry king and people holding musical instruments in the background. Pictures of a golden image tall and gleaming in the sun. As adults, we tend to overanalyze the contents of this passage to the exclusion of the real message. We may ponder what we would have done in this situation. What if I were called to stand up for my faith under the penalty of death? What would I do if they asked me to bow down to an idol? We find these 3 Hebrew children are willing to stand up for their beliefs. They didn't need time to consider what they would do. They didn't offer a compromise. In their minds, they were committed to Jehovah God and none other, unto death. Period. Now, we bring this chapter home. What is the takeaway here? Will God deliver each of us from a fiery furnace? Will we never have to experience death for our faith? No, those aren't what we should key into in their statement. In verses 17 and 18 we read, "If it be so, our God whom we serve is able to deliver us from the burning fiery furnace, and He will deliver us out of your hand, O king. But if not, be it known to you, O king, that we will not serve your gods or worship the golden image that you have set up." Even if He doesn't. That statement looks beyond the momentary deliverance and into eternity. Perhaps too often we have been trapped into believing that God will physically deliver us from every pain and we become disillusioned when He doesn't. Consider those martyrs in the book of Acts or in Revelation who gave their lives for their faith. They looked beyond what Paul calls the light momentary afflictions. We need to see our afflictions the same way. Don't you think? And Lord willing, let's meet here again tomorrow and look at another of the great chapters in the Bible.